Hey, what's up guys, MugenLord here, and today we're going to talk about Square Enix and Final Fantasy VII. I know we've been talking about this a whole lot on the channel, and as I said before, I just hope the best for the company. Like I said, I've grown up with Square Enix. They gave me some of the best gaming experiences growing up as a child into my adulthood, and I just wish the best. So today we're talking about Final Fantasy VII is because the director of Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy had revealed that he wanted to avoid fan service in Final Fantasy VII. But what do we mean by that? Because he's actually saying something else. So before we dive into the video, make sure to subscribe button and notification bell for more gaming content here on this channel. So we're going to dive into this article from Bounty in the Comics. It says Final Fantasy VII director says he wanted to avoid fan service, but not the kind that you think. So in this article, they wanted to be cryptic as much as possible because they didn't want to spoil anything. But this is in regards to the actual ending scene, which is actually controversial, and they wanted to pretty much approach it differently without it looking, I guess you would say, appear very fan servicey, which to me, it felt fan servicey to me in regards of how that ending played out. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled, I advise you to click off this video because we will talk about that in a bit. So it says, in this article, it says, reflecting on the game's development during a recent interview with Eurogamer's Ed Nightingale, Hamaguchi admitted that one of the biggest challenges he faced was avoiding the temptation of portraying one particular event in the exact fashion way as the original, which is stupid in my personal opinion. Play it as the original. I wanted to see that. That's what I was hoping for in the original, and giving in and going to the original and following the original is not catering to fan service. It's actually respecting the source material. I don't know how he drew that conclusion, but anyway, there was a danger there. There was definitely a trap, said the director. With the original game, I was just a fan. I played the game when I was younger, and I got my perspective on that scene as just a single fan. Hamaguchi then admitted, I felt if I made a decision, it has to go in this direction. We have to do it this way. What we very much make it a fan-driven thing. It would make the game feel more like fan service, he added. I kind of want to avoid doing that, but you made it fan service. You really did. It's because, spoiler alert, during the Aerith death scene, we didn't get the actual Aerith death scene. I think it was the worst depiction of the death scene as possible, and it felt like fan service. What do you mean by fan service? Well, there's a lot of fans out there that didn't want Aerith to die. So what they did was, we had got this illusion that Cloud actually prevented Aerith's death. In a sense, that's fan service. People were hoping that Cloud could have came in and stopped it, because people seen Sephiroth descend from the sky, and especially in slow motion, and people wonder why did Cloud never stopped it. And what they did was, in the remake, they gave the illusion, or they gave us a separate timeline of Cloud stopping Sephiroth from stabbing Aerith. So in a sense, he gave in to fan service. He actually did that. But let us continue. As such, Hamaguchi decided that rather than focus on the scene's surface level aesthetics, he instead decided to approach it by considering the creative intention of the original Final Fantasy VII production team. Mr. Yoshinori Kitase, the director and writer of the original Final Fantasy VII, often says this, that he really wanted to create that kind of debate and speculation after the game and moving through to the third remake game, that people could keep talking about it until they do see the final conclusion Hamaguchi revealed. In that sense, I think we probably have achieved exactly what he wanted to do there, and I'm very satisfied with that because people are still talking about it. And that's the thing. The whole thing with this Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy is that they're trying to spark a debate. They're trying to spark shock value, to get people to constantly be talking, because people constantly keep talking about it. It keeps the game relevant leading into the next game, but it doesn't really shoot the game up in sales at all. As you've seen, we've seen a decline in people of the player base and people buying the game in terms of sales from Final Fantasy Remake into Rebirth. So I don't know why trying to achieve this shock value, or trying to achieve this thing where people are speculating and constantly talking about it, is going to actually service the game in the overall long scope of this. It's just mind-boggling to me. So it says, to this end, Hamaguchi noted that while many fans found Final Fantasy Rebirth's ending to be controversial, which it very well was, this reception was actually kind of the way we wanted it to go. And that's the point. That's what I'm talking about. They were going for controversial shock value. That's what they wanted to do when they created this game. That's all this game is built upon. This game is built upon fan response and fan reaction. This is, to me, in my personal opinion, this project was a reactionary project opposed of actually giving the fans what they actually really wanted. I'm talking about fans like me that wanted a true remake of Final Fantasy VII, and we didn't get that. Instead, we got a reactionary project that caters to live streamers. This was all about live streamers go online, play it, make a bunch of a shit ton of speculation videos, give you that shock reaction and everything like that, clip it, put it on shorts, get people to pass it around, talk about it on X. That's what this game was designed for. They designed that in mind. I guarantee you that. So, farther speaking to the game's implementation of said changes, Hamaguchi asserted that the real purpose of these elements is to indicate to players this is where the story might change. It doesn't mean it will change. This is where it could change, the director tease. You might see something new, you might see something different, and that really does help people to keep engaged with the story, keep having that wonder and anticipation of what's coming next. And as I said before, I always speculated that all these changes that they've done, that Cloud and the team has done in this Remake Trilogy, I have a feeling that after everything's said and done, that it's all going to boil down to the same results of the original game. But then that brings the question, if you did all these changes just for the end result, or the end outcome end up still being the same, then what was the fucking point to all this? They could have just made the game one-to-one with some additional story elements that is actually new content to actually flesh out some of the plot holes, or put more context in things that the original players or the original game didn't fully fleshed out, and incorporate some of the other aspects and new features to make the original story feel whole or more complete. That's all they could have done. They could have done that. They could have still kept their combat system, their weapon system, and everything like that, while keeping all the original core elements intact as far as the narratives are concerned. But they didn't do that at all. So that's the thing that's really getting me, that they did all this just for the outcome to be the same. That baffles my mind if that ended up being the case. So it says, turning his attentions back to fans' division regarding Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's ending, Hamaguchi affirmed that I think that kind of divided opinion is something we were always going to get just because Final Fantasy VII, the original game, was such a popular game. It's such a well-known game that if we had completely left it as it was, not changed anything, people wouldn't like it. Where did you get this idea? Where did you get this idea that you think that people wouldn't like the remake if they kept everything the same? Where did this idea come from? Where? Can somebody explain this to me? We seen what they done with Trials of Mana. The game was literally one-to-one, kept everything intact. All they did was do quality of life changes and actually improve the combat in a sense or whatever, and gave us better graphics and visuals. And the game did really well. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion sold fairly well, especially on the PlayStation and the PC side of things. And that game was literally one-to-one. Like, I don't understand why people wouldn't like if they would have just kept Final Fantasy VII Remake one-to-one. The reason why you're remaking the game, because the game was successful to begin with. This is why you guys are remaking the game. This is why you guys are breaking the game into 3 parts, because you know people are going to buy the game because of how popular the original game was. So why couldn't you just keep their game originally what it was? Because the people enjoyed the game for what it was. This is why people this is why people want to play the remake, because people are going off of the nostalgia of the original game. Instead, people come into the game and you divided the community. And they're saying that this game is going to be divided regardless, because if they kept everything the same, people would have been divided because people would, I guess, would have wanted something different. I doubt that shit. I truly doubt it. I really truly doubt it in that sense. But as we continue, And if we changed it completely, there will be another set of people who wouldn't like that at all. He continued, so we really have to try to find a balance. I think to try and satisfy as many people as possible. And that's when he went wrong. You try to satisfy everybody, you want to satisfy nobody. You can't please everybody. You can't. If they would have stuck to the original, they wouldn't experience, and plus they could have just made it one game. They wouldn't have they shouldn't even broke it into 3 games. They would have just kept it one game. It could have been one and done, but they could, and in fact, this game is going to be what? By the time they finish this game, it's going to probably be it'll be going on what, 8 years, so almost a decade. If that was the case, they might as well would have just worked on this game and not release it and just made one game. They could have just took 8 years to just release this game. Within the 8-year development cycle and just release the game as one whole game, opposed to putting in 3 parts and we have to wait for each part, and then each part is released on a new console generation, which further divides the fans even more. This this way of thinking is just stupid. But I continue. Drawing his thoughts on the subject to a close, Hamaguchi explained, I really do want to continue with the level of fans looking at us and asking, so how it's going to change? What's the ultimate conclusion of the story going to be? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to change? And to keep that level of excitement and anticipation up for a 3rd game in the series, I think that's the job that we've set ourselves out, he concluded. So yes, it confirms everything I've been saying. This whole thing with Final Fantasy VII Remake was just a reactionary project, and it's to get everybody talking, to get everybody speculating. And the thing is, they like as I said before, if they was going to change the game, they might as well just go full on with it. Would I have been pissed about it? Yes, I would have been pissed about it. I'm still a Final Fantasy VII fan. I would have still given it a chance because I'm a Final Fantasy fan, especially Final Fantasy VII. I would have still gave it a chance, give you my personal opinions and my personal thoughts on it. So they could have just went completely balls to the wall and completely just changed the game, or they could have just went and just been 1-to-1, and you would have still got my money because I would have been a big fan about it. And you know me, I would have definitely probably most likely praised the game to high hells, to high hells. You know what I'm saying? But the problem that we got here is the fact is that they tried to find a balance by tapping their toe into doing something different while trying to maintain what made Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, so loved and beholden to a lot of the original fans. And look what's going on. You created a divide. Because if you would have kept it 1-to-1, the original fans would have still played the game, and you would have pulled in some new fans as well. For those who never played the original, would have played this. You would have still got a new base of fans because of the modern mechanics that you implemented into this 1-to-1 remake of the game. You modernized it. You would have got that new audience to come in and actually give it a try. But what you did was you added some new things to the game. It fucked up what Final Fantasy VII originally was as far as themes, its tones and stuff. And then you pushed away the original fans that made the series, made the game what it was. And now you left with this audience that is this new audience that they have, and some fans who somehow like the game, a story narrative or whatever like that. And now you stuck in this weird conundrum right now. And that was just boggling my mind where they could have just stayed with the original source material. As I said before, you hear the frustration in my voice about this whole entire thing. If you guys haven't checked out my review that I had, I did a 1-hour review because I played 110 hours of Rebirth. You definitely want to hear, if you would definitely want to hear my thoughts on that, definitely check it out. And I was surprised the amount of views that it got for a 1-hour video, one of the longest video in my YouTube career that I've ever made, and it's quite successful and done quite well. So you definitely need to check it out. But I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. What do you think about this? Like, now that we know their reasoning behind that they decided to make such a design narrative choice when it comes to the Remake Trilogy, that fans somehow wouldn't have liked it if they kept it 1-to-1. Just mind-boggling. But if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe button for more gaming content here on this channel. This is MugenLord signing off. I'll see you gaming fiends later. Peace out.